Hello everyone, Mr. Creepyashell here. Before we get started with this video, if you haven't already, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Make sure you cut on all notification bells as well to make sure you get notified whenever I release a new video. Also, if you enjoy this video, please like and share. It really helps me out. And one more thing, when you're watching my videos,
make sure you keep all the lights on.
Before my grandmother passed in 2023, she shared with me a scary event that happened to her back in 1962. My grandmother was 19 at the time. She was living with her parents and her two other sisters who were younger than her. One was 14 and the other was 12. Now, my grandmother doesn't remember the exact date, but she does remember that it was around her sister's birthday, the middle child, the one who was 14, that was about to turn 15. And she was going around looking for her a present, and that's when she spotted a doll. She found it in a very strange store where they sell collectible dolls. When my grandmother walked into that doll store, all the dolls there looked unique and antique, but a specific doll caught her attention. She grabbed the doll and paid for it. That day on my great aunt's birthday, they celebrated, and that's when my grandmother gave my great aunt her birthday present. She opened it up and she was excited that she got this doll. It looked very unique and it looked very nice. She kept the doll on her all day during her birthday. Even though she was 15, she still loved collecting dolls. But that night, that's when things started to change and things started to happen. My grandmother would say that during the night, around 1:30 a.m., while sleeping, she remembered hearing some footsteps in the hallway. Now, my grandmother lived in a very small house, and it only had 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms. So obviously her parents slept in the master bedroom together, and her 2 younger sisters shared a room together. She was the only one that had her own room. Her room was across from her sister's room. So anyway, that night my grandmother heard the wooden floor in the hallway creaking like someone was walking around. My grandmother got up to investigate. She looked across from her sister's room, but she could see both of them were asleep in their bed. But she kept on hearing that wood creaking. She thought maybe she was just half asleep, so she went back to bed. A couple of nights later, something else happened that was unexplainable, but this was a bit more creepier. That night, as my grandmother was sleeping, she had on her radio. Then all of a sudden her radio went static. She got up and tried to fix the radio, but that's when she heard screaming. She could hear it through the static. My grandmother's blood ran cold when she heard this, because it didn't sound like it was coming from the radio. It sounded legit. She then cut the radio off. But when she cut the radio off, she saw her 15-year-old sister standing in her doorway of her room. She tried calling out to her sister, but she began to walk slower and slower in her room. She also noticed that her sister was holding that doll that she got for her birthday. It was very odd. My grandmother tried to call out for her, but she didn't listen. So she ran over there and tried to tap her shoulders. And that's when her sister snapped out of whatever trance that she was in, and she started to cry. The next several weeks, strange things kept happening. Things going missing, strange noises, sudden chills in the air, drafts that come out of nowhere. But my grandmother told me something that happened that blows all these experiences out of the water. And it was the most creepiest thing. And it still, to that day, until she passed away, terrified her. My grandmother was off from college because she had a very bad cold, and everyone else, her parents, her siblings, were all at work and school. She was by herself. She was fighting a cold and she had a very high fever. As she was sitting down watching television, that's when she heard a loud creaking noise in the hallway in between her room and her sister's room. She got up to investigate, but as she got closer to the hallway, she heard a very low pitch growl. She didn't almost want to check at first, but she got over her fear for a moment. She looked, and what she saw made her blood ran cold. All the color in her skin drained. Standing there was a dark black creature. It wasn't human, and it wasn't an animal that walks among the earth. It was standing on its hind legs, hairy. It had horns that stuck out of its head. It had green glowing eyes. It had sharp razor teeth. As it opened up its mouth, it was drooling. And then she noticed something else. This creature was holding her sister's doll. She was freaking out. The creature let out a horrific screech, and then it ran towards her at lightning speed. My grandmother ran out the door and screamed. The next door neighbors came out and they asked her what was wrong. But my grandmother was crying and couldn't catch her breath. A few hours later, her parents came home. She explained to her parents about what happened, and then they all, including her sisters, figured that something paranormal was going on. They got a priest to come in and bless the house, and that's when the priest noticed that this energy, this hunting, and everything that was going on in that house was all connected to that doll. He told them that they had to get rid of it, and once they get rid of it, everything will go back to normal. My grandmother's sister, the one who had the doll for her birthday, hesitated at first, but with a little convincing from my grandmother and her parents, she eventually let go of the doll. After that, the house was back to normal. But ever since that day, my grandmother said that terrified her. Now, the reason why my grandmother told me this story before she passed away, because we were all watching a movie. It was a horror movie, and the name of that movie was Annabelle Creations. And my grandmother went white when she heard that name. Of course, it wasn't the exact doll, but she looked at me and told me that she had the Annabelle doll. That was the doll that she got for her sister for her birthday. When she told me this, I was in disbelief. I couldn't believe that my grandmother was at some point in her life had possession of that doll. She said that the priest took it away, and somehow he passed away and that doll went to another store where someone else bought it.